Welcome to Vital Minimum, philosophy and minimalism for men who refuse to live on autopilot. You're buying your own cage, every $400 sneaker, every watch you never wear, every car financed over 72 months. These are iron bars you're placing around your own freedom. Here's the brutal truth. 80% of men today are trading their masculinity for products, buying status because they can't build character, accumulating objects because they're afraid to look in the mirror. Today, I'm going to show you how consumerism became the most toxic form of modern masculinity, and why you're probably trapped in it without even realizing.
Let's start with the truth nobody wants to hear. You're not buying things, you're buying anesthesia. The average man spends 35% of his income on things he doesn't need. Running shoes for someone who doesn't run, a smartwatch for someone who doesn't train, an imported car to drive 10 kilometers a day in traffic. Why? Because buying gives the same dopamine spike as conquering. It's easier to buy running shoes than to run 10 kilometers. Easier to buy gym clothes than to train hard. Psychologist Jordan Peterson explained it perfectly. Men need challenge. When you remove real challenge, the brain seeks cheap substitutes. Consumerism is the most accessible substitute for conquest. The brutal truth? You don't want the product. You want the feeling of having conquered something. But buying isn't conquering. It's outsourcing your self-esteem to a credit card.
There's a difference between masculinity and performative masculinity. Performative masculinity? You need external symbols to prove value. Expensive watch, financed car, brand name clothes. You're constantly proving masculinity because you lack internal masculinity. Authentic masculinity? You don't need to prove anything. Your value comes from competence, discipline, character. The Stoics called this internal virtue versus external validation. Marcus Aurelius was emperor of Rome. He had access to any luxury imaginable. He chose deliberate simplicity. Why? Because he knew that dependence on objects is slavery disguised as success. You buy a $200,000 car. Now you need to maintain that car, pay insurance, fuel, maintenance, parking. You've become a slave to an object that should serve you. The toxic masculinity of consumerism isn't about buying things. It's about confusing objects with identity. When your value depends on what you possess, you've lost before you started.
Let's talk about what's really happening. You grow up seeing advertisements that connect product with masculinity. Powerful car equals powerful man. Expensive clothes equals successful man. Swiss watch equals valuable man. This is the greatest psychological manipulation of modernity. Brands don't sell products. They sell prefabricated identity. And you buy it because it's easier to buy identity than build identity. Philosopher Zygmunt Bauman called this liquid life. Your identity isn't solid, built by you. It's liquid, shaped by consumption. You change identity every time you change brands. Problem? Identity built by consumption is false identity, because when the money runs out, your identity disappears. When you lose your job, lose your car, lose your brand name clothes, what's left? The brutal answer? Nothing. Because you outsourced your identity to products.
And here's the worst part. Consumption is addictive. You buy, feel dopamine. 2 weeks later, you need to buy again. It's the infinite cycle of dissatisfaction. Because objects don't fill existential voids. Nietzsche warned about this in the 19th century. He saw authentic values dying, being replaced by market values. You don't build internal value, you buy external value. And here's what makes it worse. The consumption never ends. It can't end because the void it's supposed to fill isn't a material void. It's existential. You're trying to buy purpose, meaning, worth. But these things can't be purchased. Every purchase is a temporary relief that makes the underlying problem worse. Like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. The more you consume, the more you need to consume, and the cycle never breaks. Unless you break it deliberately.
So, how do you escape this trap? First, recognize that consumerism isn't masculine. It's weakness disguised as success. A strong man doesn't need to prove value with objects. A weak man buys proof because he has no real proof. This is the hardest truth. Every expensive purchase you've made to feel successful was actually evidence of insecurity. That car, you bought it because you felt inadequate without it. That watch, you needed external validation. Those clothes, you were afraid people would judge your worth by appearance. And they were all bandages on wounds you refused to examine. Real masculine strength comes from not needing these things, from deriving your sense of worth from what you can do, who you are when nobody's watching, how you handle difficulty, not from what you own.
Second, replace consumption with construction. Instead of buying running shoes, run. Instead of buying gym clothes, train. Instead of buying philosophy books to decorate your shelf, read the damn books. Shift your identity from consumer to creator, from accumulator to builder. This is terrifying for most men because it requires actual effort. It's vulnerable. You might fail at building something, but you can't fail at buying something. That's why consumption feels safe. But here's what happens when you shift. When you run, instead of buying running gear, you build real confidence. When you train instead of buying supplements, you develop actual strength. When you read instead of collecting books, you gain genuine knowledge. Your identity becomes rooted in competence, not consumption.
Third, disconnect identity from possessions. You are not what you own. You are what you do when nobody's watching. Your character when there's no audience. Your discipline when there's no immediate reward. Seneca wrote 2,000 years ago, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." Rejecting consumerism is hard because you're going against social current, but that's the essence of authentic masculinity, the courage to build your own value while the world tries to sell you fake value. The paradox? When you stop trying to prove your worth through possessions, you become genuinely impressive. When you stop buying status, you start building character. And character is the only thing that can't be purchased, repossessed, or lost in a market crash.
Revelatory and practical. Look at men of real impact. Steve Jobs wore the same clothes every day, not from poverty, from understanding decision fatigue. Barack Obama did the same, because high-performance men understand something crucial. Every consumption decision drains willpower. willpower that should go to important things. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Your power isn't in earning more, it's in needing less. That's the brutal mathematics. Every $1,000 saved per month is $12,000 per year you don't need to earn. That's 1 month of life. 1 month you could spend with your child, or learning something new, or simply breathing without anxiety. Minimalist finance isn't deprivation, it's prioritization. It's not about having less, it's about having what matters and nothing else.
Here's the paradox. When you decide to have less, you feel like you have more. Fewer payments, more mental peace. Fewer objects, more space to breathe. Fewer expenses, more future options. Society sold you a lie that success is accumulation. The truth is the opposite. Success is elimination. Having clarity about what really matters and ignoring everything else. Thoreau spent 2 years in a cabin with the essentials and wrote, "A man is rich in proportion to the number of things he can afford to let alone." He wasn't romanticizing poverty. He was describing real freedom. You don't need to go to the forest. You just need to stop accumulating prisons and calling it progress. The question becomes simple. Does this purchase increase my freedom or decrease it? Most honest answers are uncomfortable.
If this video made you uncomfortable, and I hope it did, it's because something here touched truths you've been avoiding. Here's the challenge. Look at your closet, your room, your garage. How many objects there did you buy to compensate for something? How many things do you possess that possess you back? Be brutally honest. That car you financed for 7 years because your father never acknowledged your success? That watch you bought after the promotion you didn't really deserve? Those clothes you purchased to impress people at an event you didn't even want to attend? Each one is evidence. Evidence of wounds you're treating with consumption instead of confronting directly. The strongest thing you can do is admit it. Not to me, to yourself. Because once you see the pattern, once you really see it, you can't unsee it. And that's when everything changes.
Leave in the comments the last thing you bought out of insecurity, not necessity. Brutal honesty, no judgment. The more men who admit this, the less power this trap has. If you want real freedom, true freedom that doesn't depend on your bank account or job title, leave a like on this video, subscribe to Vital Minimum, hit the notification bell, and share this with that friend who's financing happiness over 72 months. He needs to hear this. Next video, we're going deeper. Minimalist finance. Less spending, more freedom. The mathematics of liberation. The specific method to break free financially. Until then, less is more.